Jennifer Rubin, who is an opinion writer for the Washington Post, had something up today. It's an imaginary, well, let me share with you what she wrote. She says, Trump's increasingly manic, irrational, incoherent rants have not provoked a significant response from the Democratic presidential contenders. Perhaps they don't want to interrupt while Trump is in the process of self-destruction. You know, which is an old idea. Never get in the way of your enemy when he is gutting himself with a ceremonial dagger, you know. I don't know who said that, but it certainly is effective advice. Anyway, Jennifer Rubin goes on. However, at some point, it would behoove one or more of the candidates, the Democrats, to say out loud what many Americans are thinking. They might say something like this. Now, this is Jennifer Rubin's imaginary speech or something that a Democratic contender would say. I agree with her. I'd love to hear this, too. Here's what she imagines some Democratic presidential nominee or contender saying. We're quick in politics to throw around terms such as nuts or crazy in our everyday speech. We dismiss our opponents too frequently with words that denote their ideas are unworthy of serious consideration. But there are times when a public figure's behavior is so out of line, so scary, and so outside the boundaries of normal conversation that these terms should be applied literally. We should be concerned when any elected official's conduct suggests mental or emotional imbalance. When that figure is the President of the United States, we should be alarmed. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about a medical diagnosis. I'm talking about what we see and hear every day from President Trump. He changes his mind on critical matters daily. He looks at the world in terms of his own ego. So he imagines Kim Jong-un likes him, and he attacks an ally such as Denmark, whose leader has the temerity to refuse to sell him part of the Danish kingdom. He takes the word of a Russian dictator and the Saudi crown prince over the facts presented by our own intelligence community. He claims he is the chosen one and promotes a conspiracy monger's assertion that Israeli Jews love him like he's the king of Israel and the second coming of God. He repeats the same lies over and over again, that China pays for tariffs and sucked $500 billion out of our economy. The trade deficit isn't $500 billion, and that doesn't mean China took any money. That he, and not President Barack Obama, that he signed the VA choice law, that millions of illegal votes were cast for Hillary Clinton, that Google manipulates votes, that 94% of Republicans support him, that mortgage rates have never been lower, that he is voted Michigan's Man of the Year, that steel mills are opening, that windmills cause cancer, and that climate change is not a threat, and on and on and on and on. On a day to be mourning and comforting the victims of El Paso and Dayton, Ohio, he boasts about crowd size and attacks former Vice President Joe Biden. On a day in which 11 were slaughtered at a Pittsburgh synagogue, he jokes about the rain and his hair. He said there were very fine people among neo-Nazis. We don't want brown and black people from shithole countries. Jews are disloyal. Mexican immigrants are rapists. 4 non-white U.S. congresswomen should go back to where they came from, and other ludicrous, bigoted things. He claims the family separation policy was not his, and that we're doing a bang-up job taking care of the children and adults who we have detained at the border. This is madness. I think Trump is wrong on virtually every issue. But everyone needs to recognize this is not someone fit to be president. I'm not a doctor. I don't think we should play armchair psychiatrist. Nevertheless, We can see that none of this is normal, appropriate, or acceptable. A president can move markets, bring on a recession with ill-conceived tariffs, start a war, make concessions to enemies, and try to take away our basic constitutional rights. He can destroy our international reputation and damage our moral authority. And yet Republicans will, to their last breath, keep him in office. They're willing to play roulette with the lives of 320 million Americans. If Trump were a relative, you would have long ago staged an intervention. As a country, we need to stage an intervention on November 3rd, 2020. If not, bolstered by re-election, Trump will do unimaginable damage to our country and to our democracy. End of the imaginary statement that Jennifer Rubin would like to see come out of the mouth of any Democratic contender for the presidency. Wouldn't that be great? Instead of these 20 or 18, however many's left, these so-called candidates continuing to slice and dice each other or attack Obama's record or talk about Joe Biden's bullshit from the busing era. I mean, give me a fucking break. Rubin concludes with this. The irony of this, of course, is that Republicans could get the very same policy results with Vice President Pence as president, without the crackpottery and without putting the country at risk. They're too afraid of Trump to call him out, and perfectly fine leaving him in power and signing on for 4 more years of this insanity. Presidential candidates should be saying what we know to be true about Trump and putting the spotlight squarely on Republican sycophants who indulge his bizarrely abnormal behavior. Jennifer Rubin, with what she would like to hear a Republican contender for the office of the presidency say. A Democratic contender, because the Republicans are not going to, they wouldn't say shit if they had a mouthful of it, as long as Trump is in office. It's the most insane thing. It's not just Trump. It's Trump and Mitch McConnell and every fucking Republican office holder who continues to pretend that this is normalcy. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcasts. You have your choice. You can listen to the ranting with the audio podcast or listen and watch me lose control with a video podcast subscription. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.